Woohoo, it works! Okay, MGTOWs. It looks like your pal Vention has screwed up. It turns out that the sewer pump was never broken. I just panicked, right? This is a very good example of why I'm a prepper, right? Because when shit really gets crazy, I have a nasty habit, just like almost everybody else, of panicking, right? And basically, I just assumed when the alarm went off that the thing with the most moving parts was the problem, right? But it turns out that the problem was in the electrical box that supplies power to the pump. Man, it's a thing from 1993, although it looks in very good shape, but it is old. And it basically appears to have some kind of step-up transformer that steps it up from like 220 to like 340 or something like that. It's really bizarre. I mean, I'm a diesel mechanic, not an electrician, so I'm really not I'm not really prepared to work on something like that. But I was able to kind of explore around the edges and get something out of the little wiring diagram, and I found something that looks like a ground fault isolator and this weird thing that you can reset, and the darn thing then started working. So it might be that that the motor is starting to fail and is starting to leak into the ground and leak power into the ground. And if that's the case, I will need to get that motor replaced eventually. But all of that stuff that I went through yesterday, pumping it out manually, and with that horrendous, hideous, beyond insane smell, and then spraying it out with the pressure washer and having all that horrendous mung just splash back at me. I was wearing a mask and a face shield, but man, it was still gross. My phone shut off twice, so I keep checking to make sure it's still going. But anyway, it turns out that it was a ground fault, and as soon as I reset the darn thing, it started pumping again. So at least I cleaned out the tank, which is something I wouldn't have done unless I absolutely had to. But man, that was a gross job. But I did accomplish something. You see, if I called experts in there, man, they would have wanted to upsell me to a whole new system with a new box, a new pump, and it wouldn't have been necessary, because all it took was just a reset, and it's running, right? So I ran into the same thing with this garage door when I first moved into the house. I was going to get somebody to fix it, and then all they wanted to do was just upsell me to a new garage door, right? And a whole new system. They weren't there to repair it. They were there just to sell a new system, right? So I said no thanks, and I managed to sort of patch it back together again, and it's been working almost perfect for like since 2012. So basically, I am a big fan, as you guys know, of keeping as much money in my pocket as possible and not having it bled away into unnecessary expenses, right? It's one of the, I don't know if I would call it one of the foundations of MGTOW, but it certainly is one of my foundations. Because as soon as you spend that money, I mean, the men who do the work, right, they only get just a tiny fraction, and it is all men, pretty much. If anybody's going to be replacing that sewer pump, there is a 99.999% chance that it's going to be a guy. There's no way a freaking woman is going to be in there working in shit to replace a freaking pump. They just don't feel like doing that shit. And honestly, guys don't like it either, but we're just more able to do that sort of thing than women are. But we're equal, huh? Well, anyway, every time that you pay a ton of money for something like that, the man who does the job only gets a small amount of it, right? Most of that money goes to the company that employs him, and then the company that employs him has to pay a ton of taxes, and then the guy has to pay a ton of taxes, and then if he wants to buy anything with the money that he makes, he has to pay a ton of taxes for the privilege of buying something with the money that he's already been taxed on once. And then it just sucks all the energy out of the economy, and it destroys demand, right? And then the whole economy just slows down, and then nobody's working, right? Freaking leftists. Well, anyway, now, in this case, I slowed down the economy even more by digging into this thing and fixing this thing myself, right? And since I did that, out of that $4,000 that I probably would have paid, a lot of that money would have gone to the IRS, right? And then the state taxes, and then they would have bought drones to blow people up in foreign countries, which people I have no quarrel with, you know, at least until they start coming here and having their rape game and all kinds of other problems that these incompatible cultures have when they come to the U.S. and Europe. Just checking my phone. Yep, it's still on. So basically, I have no problem with them when they're over there in their own countries. So basically, the result is I kept that money in my own pocket, and I did not hand that money over to the IRS and the drones and the state and all of the feminist welfare bullshit that they would spend it on, because absolutely none of that money is going to be used to benefit me. First of all, I'm a man, right? So any tax things are probably going to be going to people who are not me. And then on top of that, I'm white. If being a man wasn't bad enough, I'm also white. So any benefits that I get from the tax system are minimal. Yeah, I can drive on the roads, but I pay for that with a gas tax, right? So basically, yeah, I kept all that money in my pocket, and I'd held up a giant middle finger to the system, and and my problem is solved, right? Just took a little elbow grease. So the thing is, what I'm trying to get across, though, is that when I saw that big flashing alarm, I panicked, right? And just like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know, across the front of the book, it says, "Don't panic." You never gain anything from panicking. And all that shit that I went through yesterday, I went through it because I panicked. I should have looked to see if the motor was getting power before I pulled the lid and started blasting in there with the pressure washer. Yeah, I feel pretty dumb. So, the fact that the motor is has tripped the ground fault isolator means that it might be going bad. And if that's the case, I may need to replace it in the future. But for the time being, I'm going to hold off on it and see if I can limp along with this thing for a few more years, and then maybe I'll be a Bitcoin millionaire and I'll go live in Cambodia or something, and then eat a lot of mangoes and have good times. And I won't need to worry about the sewer pump. So, if you don't have to fix it, if it's not broken right now, don't fix it. So, okay, and congratulations to myself and everybody else who voted for Trump and Republicans, and maybe we might have a chance of delaying the New World Order a few more years and enjoy some halfway decent times, and maybe maybe claw back a little bit of freedom until finally the globalists take over. So, or maybe decentralized currencies like Bitcoin, maybe that will give us a chance. Maybe we've got a chance. So anything you can do to increase your own personal prosperity, your own personal security, like fixing some of this stuff yourself, going through the trouble of learning how to do it, that benefits you, and it takes and it sucks energy away from the system that is just fucking us over anyway. So, MGTOWs, don't get married. Later.